I don't know whether to be excited or very, very concerned. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the strangest collection of beers I've ever laid eyes on. That's right, yesterday Northern Monk released this trio of, well, pub snack flavoured beers, and I don't really know why. To be honest, there is a nice story behind it. They're doing something good for the beer community as a whole. However, well, let's be honest, the elephant in the room here is this isn't the first time they've done something a bit like this. Northern Monk do have a habit of putting up April Fool's Day posts, like some Seabrook's prawn cocktail flavoured crisp posts, and I don't know, I think there's been some Aunt Bessie stuff before. And well, everyone thought it was a laugh until they ended up making them, and this year was no different. To start off with, we've got a 4.5% Scampi Fries Pale Ale. I think it's, what's the actual name of it? It's a Scampi and Lemon Pale Ale. Then we're going up to 5%ers. We've got a Dry Roasted Peanut Stout. Secretly, I'm very excited for that one. I really love peanut in a stout, so I'm hoping that's actually very good. And then the one that I think I'm probably the most uncertain about, but to be honest also kind of excited about, a Pork Scratching Best Bitter, also coming in at 5%. And as you can see on the bar here in front of me, I've also acquired all of the relative snacks to try and find out, well, do they actually taste like what they're meant to? Just before we break into them then, I'm quickly going to run through them and give you my impressions of what I think they've probably done before actually trying them. So starting over here with the Scampi and Lemon Pale, well, that's likely to be just citrusy hopped pale ale, nothing unusual about that. I'm not sure where the Scampi element's going to come in, maybe something a bit salty, maybe it's a bit of a play on the malt, something bready to get kind of that breaded batter kind of Scampi thing going on, I'm not too sure. The Dry Roasted Peanut Stout, to be honest, that should be pretty straightforward. There are plenty of peanut stouts. Maybe they've added a bit of salt, as I say, again, to this one just to get that snack feel. But otherwise, I think that one's about as straightforward as we're going to get here today. And then finally, the Pork Scratching Best Bitter. Well, pork scratching's meaty, smoky. What I'm thinking this is going to be like is a bit of a Best Bitter with a bit of a Rausch beer finish. In theory, that could work pretty well. But I'll be honest, I'm probably just being a little bit optimistic. So let's not waste any time. Let's find out what that Scampi and Lemon Pale Ale is really like. Of course, Scampi Fries, which we'll use to test the theory. Have they actually made a Scampi Fries flavoured beer? Scampi and Lemon Pale Ale, 4.5%. Before we break into it, here is a quick look at the can. As you can see there, I mean, Northern Monk don't mess around. That is a lovely looking thing. It's a little overexposed on this light here. I do apologise. But yeah, let's get into it. I'll be honest, the aroma in the room right now is a bit fishy. It's a bit funky. I think they really have gone the full mile here. As you can see in the glass, it's got this kind of super light haze to it. It's a bit thin looking. It's a bit, I don't know. It looks a bit like a bad wheat beer or Weiss beer to me. Head's okay. It just, I'll be honest, it looks a bit dishwatery. It doesn't look that appealing, but I suppose we're going to find out. So, cheers. Here's to weird beer. There's no way. What? Oh, wow. That is madness. Madness! I mean, the aroma, first of all, is just like heaps of sherbet lemon, almost, but it's a bit sweeter than that. It's like handmade lemonade, almost, and beyond that, there's a bready malt finish and something that smells alarmingly of Scampi. Now, I'll be honest, these are gimmick beers. They are novelties. They aren't massively available. I'm not going to give you full rundowns and breakdowns of, you know, the style eccentricities and everything else. This is just a bit of a fun video to work out how wacky beer can really get. And I have to say, that is bizarre, weird, probably shouldn't exist, and oddly delicious. Right then, let's find out though if it does taste like the real thing. So I have gone to the effort of getting some legit Smith's Scampi Fries. Not the easiest thing in the world to get hold of, it must be said, especially at short notice, but here we go. Firstly, sniff test. The beer's gone a bit harder on the lemon, but other than that, they are very, very similar. Oh, I mean, look, they don't taste exactly the same. One is a dry, salty snack. The other one is, well, it's beer. And somehow, despite that, when you go side by side with them, yes, you can pick out a world of differences. But at the same time, if you didn't have the snack, I think you might even call it in a blind taste test. It is, whilst not identical, so reminiscent, it's unreal. And I assume they've put just kind of scampi fish flavourings in this because, well, I'm really hoping they didn't actually ferment some scampi, but in any case, that is very, very nice. Weird, as I say, and probably not for everyone. It's funny, I'll tell you what it's like. It's a bit like an amped up Radler, right? Super lemony, a bit of nice malt base, a bit chill, but then it feels like it's been seasoned. There might be a bit of salt in there, some, as I say, fishy, scampi flavouring additive, but yeah, it's super refreshing. It does work. It shouldn't, it should be banned, but actually, I'd buy it again. And then we are on to the one that in theory should be very good regardless of the novelty. A dry roasted peanut stout coming in at 5%. And KP, can you please sell smaller bags of these in the supermarket? Because I had to buy this massive one just to get the kind of relative taste. But here we go then. Northern Monk's dry roasted peanut stout, 5%. There is a quick look at the can. You can see it there in all its glory. It's got a, yeah, I mean, they've copied the labelling on a lot of these, haven't they? But yeah, looks, well, like a bag of peanuts. I've not put my nose anywhere near this, and the aroma is not very stout-like, is fair to say. I'm going to get this weird savoury vibe coming off the glass. We'll get into it properly in a minute, but let's just have a look at the body on this one. Stouts really are my domain, and I tell you what, that is a properly black beer. When I was pouring it, it looked like just a dark brown beer, maybe a bit light in the body, but actually, now I'm sat here with the light in front of it. It's yeah, it's proper business. It was a bit lively on opening, but the body looks good. It looks like a well put together beer. And actually, that kind of savoury funk has dissipated a bit now. And there's been a few beers out and about recently that try and claim to be one thing or another. And you know the ones that try to be Snickers bars? Well, this is actually doing a better job than some of those have, because the peanut on that is immense. Just immense. Right, let's give it a try, shall we? Cheers. That is weird. I said that I was expecting the pork scratching best bitter to have a bit of a smoky Rausch beer finish. It's not quite Rausch beer, but there is an odd roasty extra element to this. Again, it's the dry roasted peanut rather than a regular peanut, which I guess explains it, but it's a perfectly balanced, nice, everyday 5% generic stout. It's, yeah, you know, spot on. I would happily sit in a pub and drink pint after this, maybe if it wasn't with the peanut element. The peanut element feels a little synthetic, if I'm honest. Again, these are gimmick beers. They're not meant to be serious. They're not meant to be brewing prowess necessarily. But what they are showcasing some flavour wizardry, and that is exactly what you've got here, because it is nutty, which I'd love in a stout. But they really have gone the extra mile. Not just done, you know, a salted peanut stout or anything like that. It is legit dry roasted peanut flavour. And yeah, I mean, I'm amazed. Let's give the peanuts a go, shall we? See how they compare. I think Mr. KP's nuts have got smaller. So, do they taste alike? Yes, again. Some ways less so than the Scampi beer, weirdly. I thought that was going to be the proper outlier in oddity and not really much like its true counterpart. But this one's a bit more detached, not because the flavour profiles are necessarily wrong, but actually this beer tastes so much more like peanut and more like dry roasted peanuts than real dry roasted peanuts. It's amped up, it's overexpressed, it's just massive. And whilst I can appreciate why they've done it, I actually think this would have been a fantastic sessionable stout if that was just lowered a little bit, just a bit less of that kind of smoky peanut intensity. It's very nice, but weirdly, I actually still prefer the Scampi Pale. I will say though that the body and the construction on the stout is actually far superior. The Scampi Pale's a bit washy, whereas this, like, it looks real. It looks like it's doing the business. Now, one more beer to go, but remember to stick around to the end so I can tell you firstly why they're actually doing this, and it is all for a good cause, and secondly, where you're going to be able to try these, because, well, here's a hint, it's not in your own home because they've sold out online already. So then, on to the one that I'm most excited / worried about. It is Northern Monk Pork Scratchings Best Bitter at 5%. I mean, just, it looks almost identical. Now, they've gone for a silver wrap. The pork scratchings I've got are in the gold wrap. These are the original. There was no silver wrap ones in any of the shops I went to, so I don't know what the change is, but anyway, let's get into it, shall we? So, a 5% pork scratching best bitter. Are these words really coming out of my mouth? Okay, another slightly lively beer, that one. No, it's quite dark for a best bitter, actually. I think it's almost looking black on camera. It's not. It's a very deep amber beer, that one. And, oh dear. I don't know why for a moment there, but I forgot that we were reviewing novelty beers, and I just stuck my nose in that expecting, well, a best bitter, and it smells like an old pub. That's what I will say. It's got this weird, meaty funk to it, though. I don't know. Yeah, aroma alone isn't particularly appealing, it has to be said. The body and the head on this beer, again, like the Stout, actually looks pretty decent, but slightly hazy. Yeah, I suppose we better get into it. Cheers. That's mad. That is insane. I was right. Craft beer has gone mad. That is absolutely the epitome of everything that shouldn't be good about a beer, and yet somehow I'd like a pint of it, please, sir. Northern Monk, they're magicians. Look, I know, they're not the best brewed beers in the world. They are full of additives. This is a novelty. But somehow, you've taken a best bitter, you've tried to make it taste like a pork scratching, and the impressive bit is, you made it taste like a pork scratching, but it still tastes like a best bitter. It tastes like you're eating the pork scratching and drinking the best bitter at the same time, which is something, I'll be honest, I do enjoy doing. And third and foremost, you've managed to make me want it. It's actually a good tasting beer. Different, yes, an everyday beer, probably not, but it's legitimately enjoyable. It's a bit watery in places, it's a bit thin, it's a best bitter. Yes, it's a 5% best bitter, so maybe we should be hoping for something maybe a bit more complex, but again, we're in novelty town here. These are never going to be fantastic, but weirdly, the flavour profile, I'm absolutely digging it. And now, I've got to get into these pork scratchings to find out exactly how close they got, because I reckon it's pretty close. Nice, well, it looks like an ear, that one. Lovely. But I have a second just for quality control purposes. And now it's even weirder, and it proves that it kind of absolutely is that flavour, because I've had a pork scratching or two, and then I've gone back, had a sip of the pork scratching beer, and all of a sudden, actually, I can't really taste the pork scratching in the beer anymore because the real one was a bit more dominant, but that has allowed me to actually taste what this beer tastes like, which, outside of the pork scratching element, if you can avoid it, which I have just done, it's a light, caramelly, slightly hoppy, smooth, fantastic British best bitter. I'll be honest, I didn't really know what to expect from these three novelty beers, but, well, I've had a much better time than I thought I was going to. Speaking of good times though, this is the whole reason for this set of beers. This isn't an ad, I'm just quite passionate about this subject, so bear with me. But the whole point of this, and you'll see on the back of the cans here, you can see that, it says Faith in Boozers. And what that means is that Northern Monk are basically putting these beers out into real pubs all over the country, these three beers in casks or kegs or however they're delivering them. And this is basically a helping hand from Northern Monk, who have done very well in recent years. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cans in the supermarkets. You know, they're selling all over the place, collabs galore. They are a successful brewery by any standard. And they're just trying to give a bit back. And so basically they are selling these to pubs at cost, which means any profit made per pint is all the pubs. Northern Monk aren't making a penny on it. Basically the only money they made on these was selling it to idiots like me on the internet in can form, because, well, they weren't that cheap, if I'm honest. But if it helps them do things like supporting the local boozers, then, well, call me an idiot because I'll buy them any day. And that thankfully leads us on to where you can buy it, and it is in your local pub. I believe Northern Monk are going to release something on their website telling you where you can find these beers, in what pubs they're in, which ones and where. Because as I say, unfortunately, they had a very, very limited run of cans on their website, and I was just lucky enough to be looking at my emails when the email dropped to say they were up for sale. So I went in and I bought them. And now I've drank them already, so I'm a bit sad. And I'm going to now go onto my computer and find out where I can go for a proper pint of one of these in a proper boozer with some proper pub snacks. So there you go. Please let me know in the comments below which one of these 3 beers would you like to try the most down your local, and if you try one, come back to this video, leave a comment and let me know what you thought of it. I do need to reinstate that these are not the best beers in the world. If I was reviewing these one at a time, just on their merits as purely as a beer, as an expression of brewing, then I probably would have slated them a little bit, but these are a novelty, they're sold as a novelty, everyone knows they're a novelty, and more importantly, they're doing something fantastic for your local pub, which I think by anyone's count is worth a massive thumbs up. And to be honest, I think that is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.